Well, that just made my day. September marks the start of the Jewish New Year, and 4 separate but important holidays are present in that month.
And here to share more about them and to show us how to make challah bread is Jeff Rembrandt, Assistant Executive Director of the Jewish Community Center in Springfield.
Hello,
Jeff, welcome
good to
back.
see you again.
Nice to see you as well.
So, Jeff, let's go through the 4 holidays. What do we have?
Okay, well, we start with the high holidays, which are Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which are actually, Rosh Hashanah is next week. They're the holiest days on the Jewish calendar. Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year, and Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement. And it is a solemn set of holidays where we celebrate for Rosh Hashanah, and then we look into ourselves and introspect during Yom Kippur.
And there are 2 other holidays as well, so it's a very busy month ahead.
Coming up after Yom Kippur, 10 days later, is a holiday called Sukkot, where we build a sukkah. It's like a little
It's like a structure.
shack, yeah, a little temporary structure that many Jewish families put up in their yard. At JCC, we build one out at the center. A lot of the day schools and congregations all build them. And we're commanded to eat in the sukkah each day. And at the end of Sukkot is a holiday called Simchat Torah, which we celebrate the giving of the law, the Torah, where we actually finish the last story in the Torah and start the first story on the same day.
Oh, but there's a lot to talk about, Jeff,
Yep.
for sure. So those are the 4 holidays. Right now, we're going to focus on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah.
Right, which are the first 2 holidays.
All right.
And some of there's different foods for each of the holidays. A lot of them sometimes are representative, sometimes they're just tasty. So let's talk about the food that we have here in front of us.
Okay, well, first, Rosh Hashanah, one of the special things we do on Rosh Hashanah is we do serve apples and honey. It helps celebrate a sweet new year. So we bring apples and honey. Everyone dips their apples in their honey. It tends to be the last thing you want to have for dinner after your dessert kind of thing. Sweet, fresh. It's the season. One of the nice things about apples is when this one's been cut for a few minutes, but you cut an apple in half crosswise, you notice there's a little star in the middle. So it kind of gives you this earth symbol and the relationship between God and man. And it's just a nice little taste treat. Apples and honey, sweet for a sweet new year.
I never really thought about that. That star really is symbolic. Because no one cuts their apples sideways
No
anymore.
one ever, unless we show it on TV and show a little star inside, and that's the only time we ever
Everybody cut your apple sideways this
Yeah,
weekend.
that's really neat.
But otherwise, it's just an apple and honey. It's sweet for the new year. Challah is a traditional Jewish bread. It's it's for holidays, but every week we have a Jewish holiday. It's the Sabbath, and so we make it for Shabbat, for the Sabbath as well. It's an egg bread, and a braided egg bread in most cases. So it's a really easy bread to make. I will tell you, I cheat at home and I use my bread machine to make my dough. And
It's okay to cheat, that's fine.
It's way easier. I put it in the bread machine. I come back later, it's all ready to go.
Magic.
But it's a very simple process. So when I start with my bread machine, I start with the liquids first. But when I make it by hand, I start with the solid, the dry ingredients first.
So is that flour?
It's flour.
Okay.
And the yeast is there already, and sugar, and salt. That's pretty much the dry ingredients.
Now, you don't need a bread machine to make it,
You don't need a bread
It's
machine
just
to make
a little
it.
easier
It
if
makes
you
my
have
life
one.
easier.
Yeah.
Egg, oil, and a little bit of water.
And especially, I assume, when you're doing so many of them at the JCC.
Yeah, and we do them at home, and then it's just stir. But of course, in the bread machine, I don't stir.
You don't stir.
In the bread machine, you go and sit on your couch.
and I have some coffee.
All right, so
But you make a nice dough out of it.
then the dough, fast forward,
Looks a little bit like this.
or exactly like this.
Comes out like that
right?
after a while, and it starts as a big ball. Then I roll it out, and the trick, the thing with the challah is, I should have this up here, is we want to
problem.
braid it so that it looks kind of like that. So I have two sets here, so that we can each braid a challah.
Okay.
So there's 3 more for you guys. You just want to kind of like stretch out your.
Seth, do you know how to braid?
No, I've
Oh,
braided
you should have
hair,
practiced
you
on my
can braid
hair
it
I was
earlier.
gonna say, I've never had sisters. I'm braid free in my
You
life.
do have a
get it
co-host though with hair.
Nice and ready to go.
Braid my hair sometimes.
And generally,
weird.
if you
All
just
right, Jeff.
pinch the one side together,
Okay. Here, I'm gonna
so
let
that
you
you
take
pinch the
this.
tip
Seth.
Okay.
together, and then it's real simple. Then it's just a traditional braid like you would hair or whatever else gets braided in this world. I don't know.
So what, you're always
Bread.
putting
Bread.
Dough, right?
you're always putting the braid to the
one
middle.
to the end, over to the center.
Nice job.
I can do this.
And when you're done, you pinch the end together, and you end up with a beautiful braided loaf.
It is really
Not
pretty.
bad. Oh, I should have. Here we go. You can't. Although once you do it, you can't really go back.
It's not the easiest thing to undo, but
I'm
these
ruining
have a
it
little bit
now.
of flour, so you'll be okay.
There we go.
It looks nice.
I'm proud
For
of
Rosh
it.
Hashanah, often we actually serve a round challah instead of a traditional braided challah.
How do you braid that?
Well, actually, you roll it. You wrap it around itself. So,
okay.
I just don't have enough dough to do a round challah today. So,
Now, what does it taste like?
well, we're going to bake it for you in a few minutes. So
Yes.
it is a relatively sweet egg bread, since it has a sugar in it, has a little honey in it, and it has egg in it, so it gives it that nice yellow tint. So what we're going to do is the one that's on the baking tray, the last step we want to do before we bake it is we want to put an egg wash on it.
I can do that.
So you want to
nice
just
and
brush.
Shiny.
It's just
Here we
that's
go.
just egg and water, and you want to do a nice job and brush the entire challah with the egg wash. Mm-hmm. Get it nice and shiny. It'll also get it nice and brown in the oven. You can't. It's not going to hurt it to put too much on.
All right, then I'm going to put extra on.
That's right. You'll notice that loaf is bigger than this loaf. It has a little more bread in it, but this will rise for a while. That one's been sitting out on the counter for a while.
It's been under those lights. Now, we've talked about Rosh Hashanah. Tell us a little bit about Yom Kippur.
So Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement. It's a day when Jews look at our own selves, our relationship with God, our relationship with other humans, and ask for forgiveness. The biggest tradition on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is the blowing of the shofar. So this is a shofar. This happens to be a really big one. They come in different shapes and sizes. I got this one when I was in Israel a number of years ago. Brought it back on the plane. They were thought I had a muffler actually. It was all in newspaper.
Now, is it? I'm sorry, I might have missed it. Is this a horn
This
of
is a horn of a
ram?
ram.
A ram's
This is
horn.
a horn
Okay.
of a ram. And so during Rosh Hashanah, there's a shofar service, and we end Yom Kippur by blowing the shofar, and it just makes a real nice sound.
Here we go.
You are good at this.
So there's three separate
Nice.
notes on the shofar.
Very
And,
impressive.
And I haven't even practiced since last year Rosh Hashanah, so it's been a while.
Hey,
You're
it's like
rusty. It's
riding
okay.
a bike.
A little rust, that's right.
I think it's great.
But
But we have a lot more to talk about in the upcoming Jewish holidays. Thank you
Yep.
so much, and I'm looking forward to trying the challah bread later on.
thanks, we'll pull it out of the oven in a little bit.
Wonderful.
Hey,
Thank
today. Welcome back to Mass Appeal. Look at that challah bread. We're back with Jeff Rembrandt. He's the Assistant Executive Director at the JCC in Springfield. We're going to learn more about a few more Jewish holidays that are coming up this month. Now we have Sukkot, which is the next one after Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah.
Right, so Sukkot is a harvest festival. Falls this time of the year. Traditionally, in ancient days, they were out harvesting their fields, and to make things convenient, they put up these temporary sheds to eat in and to sleep in if they needed to, so they didn't have to trek back from the
It's
field
up all the way back.
every day.
Absolutely.
So today we still build these temporary structures. They go up for a week.
And this is an example of one.
That's someone who's building one somewhere on their deck. I built one at my house, the JCC. We put up a large one at the JCC, and our kids all get to use it. And it's a temporary structure. You have to be able to see the stars through the roof. And most people decorate it with fruits and flowers and things like that.
And it's representative of the harvest season.
It's representative of the harvest season, and we eat in it for a week, and hopefully the weather cooperates.
And now, lastly, the last holiday is difficult to pronounce. You try it, then I'll try it.
The last holiday is the Simchat Torah.
Simchat Torah.
So the Torah are the 5 books of Moses, Genesis, Exodus, and so on. And every week on the Sabbath, we read a different portion of the Torah. So this is a little model of a Torah. I see you have a picture up as well. And this it's in a scroll. This is not a real Torah because the real Torah are handwritten. Every
Are they?
single one is handwritten.
Is it really?
And this is just one that we used to demonstrate to the kids. But on Simchat Torah, we actually finish the last story in the Torah and start the first story again. So
Kind of like a rebirth almost?
that's the beginning of the Torah again, the annual turning of the year. So, unfortunately, it's a lot of rolling in the middle of services because you're all
true.
at one end of the scroll and you have to get to the other end of the scroll. But a lot of congregations will have in this service where they'll unroll the entire Torah and people will be able to go and look at it and kids can see it.
Because it's an amazing document, and to see it in those roles like that is
Right.
really something.
And I bring the sample Torah with me. My family does actually have a Torah. It's currently on the USS Ronald Reagan. We loaned it to the U.S. Navy for 50 years, and so actually they'll be bringing it out on the Reagan for celebration of the high holidays. And in about another 40 years, my kids get to go and they decommission the Reagan and get the Torah back. And so that's kind of a fun project. But they're always looking for more Torahs for the troops. There's a Torah for Troops program out there that people are looking. If they have a Torah lying around and they're not using it,
it's not a bad
military
idea.
Can use one. So
someone else could
figured
use
I'd
it.
throw that in for Simchat Torah as well, a little push.
And now for Sukkot too, there are certain representative fruits and vegetables too.
Right. Well, we represent the 4 seasons, and unfortunately I couldn't bring my lulav and etrog yet because they're on order and they're not here. But an etrog is, well, it looks like a really big lemon. In fact, there's a picture of it on television.
So it's lemon-esque.
Yeah, it's a citrus fruit.
Okay.
Though I will tell you it's 65% peel and a little bit of fruit on the inside. We also have what's called a lulav, which is 3 different branches from 3 different trees that grew in biblical times. And
that's them right there.
Again. And the palm, the myrtle, and the willow, and they're braided together. And they're the 4 different fruits of the earth. And as part of Sukkot, we shake them and do a blessing as part of celebrating what amounts to, celebrating the earth and the harvest.
Sounds like a tremendous holiday, 4 holidays, because
Right.
it's a big month
It's a very
in the
busy
Jewish
season
calendar.
for us. Yep.
Now, earlier in the show, we made this challah bread, and this is also representative and just a great treat. Shall we break the bread?
We should. Might as well slice a piece off. We got nothing's as good as fresh baked bread.
Oh, no.
And
Is this the
we got a
appropriate?
little butter. It looks like the perfect size.
All
for
right.
you.
Oh, no, the perfect size for me is much, much bigger, Jeff.
Well, I meant this half. The perfect size for you.
Okay, you can have this, and I will just eat this.
That's right.
Now, shall we? Here we go.
There we go.
One for you.
And,
and some fresh bread on that.
I brought out a
some
little
fresh
butter.
Oh, yeah. Is there anything traditionally that you can put on this?
You can put anything you want, but there is a special blessing. It goes Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. And that's a blessing over the bread.
Well, here's to you, Jeff.
Amen.
Thank you very much for stopping by today. And you can get this recipe, mymassappeal.com, a little bit later today.
Hey, so